It's Sharkbite 1000, and I'm here to review the Battleground 2015. So, in the opening pre-show, as usual, it was boring for about the first 30 minutes or 35 minutes, and I'd say around then it started a match of Bad News Barrett versus R-Truth, and the match was kind of mediocre and a bit, and they played good offense and defense every now and then. But King Barrett over here, he saw a bull hammer coming.
Well, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. I won tonight, which means I keep my crown, and I can't go back to being Bad News Barrett, which was so much better.
The win was
At least
that
I'm not a
hammer.
joke.
And 1, 2, 3, and that match was over, and we start off with the regular pay-per-view, which is Sheamus versus Randy Orton. That match was somewhat mediocre too, nothing special.
That was alright. Definitely better than a Raw
it
match,
was-
so they didn't just throw away.
It was I think it was kind of a long match.
It would have been a lot better if there was an actual story behind it instead of just I beat you up, I beat you back.
Yeah, it was kind of like a match that they'd have on like SmackDown or something.
Yeah, it's like a Raw match that they gave pay-per-view time exactly what it was. That could have
Yeah.
been a regular Raw match.
And part of the reason behind this pay-per-view is they had to impromptu some stuff because Ryback was injured a few days back. You know the details on that. He had a knee injury.
Yeah, the word going around is that the big guy had a big problem with his knee and that he had to have like 90-something cc's of fluid flushed out of his knee.
That was terrible. Yeah.
Sounds pretty gruesome now the more I think about it.
And if he would have wrestled, I would have voted him to win and keep the Intercontinental Championship. So the next match we go on to is the New Day versus the Primetime Players. Some people had predicted the New Day would win because they've been saying, oh, soon to be your next tag team champs to win, but they did not.
All the power of positivity and all that crap. They're not really positive anymore when they're insulting people.
New
Day sucks.
New
Day sucks.
New Day
sucks.
sucks. And so the Primetime Players picked off the win.
Which is actually a pretty decent match. I mean, they made the New Day seem like they were going to win at one point because they dominated for a little while until Primetime Players came out. I saw the ending coming a mile away.
They picked up the win. And so the next match was kind of interesting because before the match started, they did a pretty cool promo. It was Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns. Now, I noticed something in here, and it was a crow, and it made me think of Sting if he was coming back this pay-per-view. What's your take on that?
With recently hearing the rumors that Sting was supposed to even be there tonight or that he's going to be at SummerSlam, it could have been just a little subliminal message. Like, it may have been coincidence, but I highly doubt it. The fact that they didn't include a crow in a Bray Wyatt promo.
Yeah, it made me thinking something was coming with that.
And the fact that we only noticed that or took as much stock in it after we found out for sure that Sting was probably going to be on there.
Okay, so the next match is something that we saw coming from Raw a few weeks back. I was thinking this was going to be a triple threat Divas triple threat match. But it turned out to be Charlotte versus Brie Bella versus Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks. Yeah, and that was actually a pretty entertaining match. It was one of the matches I was more interested in, to be quite honest, because you have two people currently in NXT.
And when I saw them come out, I haven't seen that many people taller than Paige. And Charlotte just towers over Paige.
And I'd say that Paige is tall. Paige is probably the size of you and me, but she looks small compared to Charlotte.
Yeah.
It looks like a
Charlotte's like built like a man.
It looks like a women's basketball player.
Yeah. All right. So that match ended.
I mean, I thought it was a pretty decent show. I mean, it was nice to see somebody other than the Bellas win for once because there's this dynasty. They're this sort of dynasty now. Yeah, but In the end, I was really happy with the outcome, like I said, because the Bellas didn't win and Charlotte did. That really put over NXT. It showed the future of the Divas division, how possibly it'll be back to what it was someday.
That was the first time I actually saw that finisher, and I thought it was pretty badass.
Yeah, I remember you weren't exactly marking out, but you were pretty happy when you saw the figure 8. Not the figure 4, the figure 8.
I've never seen the figure 8 before. I know what the figure 4 was well long before that, but
yeah, I believe that was the first time you'd seen the bank statement too.
Yeah, I haven't watched that much NXT prior to this pay-per-view. So in the next match, we have a mostly anticipated match: John Cena versus Kevin Owens
for the U.S. title.
Yes, and it was a pretty good match. They had a lot of close pinfalls, a lot of close 2 counts.
As good as it was, I'm thinking in the back of my head, it doesn't compare to the first 2. All of them stand out in their own right, so you can't really compare. The way it ended, I didn't see coming.
I did not either. Honest. So the way it ended was Kevin Owens taps out.
Yeah, and
weak tap.
On one hand, it looked pretty weak. On another hand, they've got to book the STF as looking legit, even though it's not.
Yeah, that move for some reason doesn't strike me as hurting that much. Actually.
Because I remember in the lead up to WrestleMania 1 Raw, Cena locks in on Rusev, and Rusev's out in like under a minute. And he's out for like 5 minutes. He has to wake him up, and he knocks him out again with it.
Yeah, I kind of like that when that happened because Rusev was still a heel.
And he actually sold it like it hurt, which something nobody ever does.
Rusev definitely doesn't ever do that. He's always doing that accolade all the time back then.
And somebody finally managed to sell one of John Cena's moves.
Yeah, and so we have the next part, which actually wasn't a match, but because of Ryback's injury, we didn't have a match. So Miz came out and, as usual, talked his crap.
Yeah, Miz has got this weird emo, hipster, something or other hobo-looking gimmick. Comes out and for once is actually not just insulting the fans to be a dick, but to insult the fans because he's mad, saying, "Oh, I should be the Intercontinental Champion. I don't get my match because when a tough gets going gets tough. Ryback is always the one to get injured."
Yeah, he's saying how Ryback had this plan, how it's fake injury, but it's legit.
Yeah, and the fact that the Miz just won the Intercontinental Championship a year ago at Battleground, it seems like they're giving him unnecessary title reigns only because to make him look better. So when he does all those movies,
and also, I really hope Ryback gets well soon because I would not want to see his Intercontinental title be taken away from him by the Authority.
To be totally honest, I don't think that'll happen because they're kind of wishy-washy with that. Like, for example,
I've just seen it happen in the past to Daniel Bryan.
When Daniel Bryan was stripped of the world title, I'll be politically correct since it's a WWE review, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. When he was stripped of it last year, he had that thing for well over 3 months and went almost 2 without defending it. And then they give it to Brock Lesnar. He only defended it every couple of months, thereby violating the same rule that they punished Daniel Bryan for.
And that's completely unfair. But we're back to our main event, which is Brock Lesnar.
Well, we didn't get to talk about the best part of the Miz's segment.
Oh, yeah. How could I forget? The Big Show comes out with a knockout blow. That's simple.
He came out looking like an obese Stone Cold Steve Austin. Arrive, knock people out, leave. He comes out. Oh, let's get back together, Big Show. Pow! Knockout punch, he leaves. So is Big Show really a heel? Is he a face? Does he really not care either way? Either way, it was awesome, and I actually cheered for Big Show for once.
So
instead of the fans actually chanting, "Please retire," for once, I think they were chanting, "Thank you, Big Show."